All right, let's pick back up with Genesis chapter 38 with our mini message today. And thank you for joining us and following along here through the book of Genesis. And I wish I could tell you this was a really cheery and great chapter, but it's not. Verse 24 says, about 3 months later, Judah was told, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, is acting like a prostitute, and now, because of this, she's pregnant. So she set the trap for him. He falls into the trap. And now her pregnancy is known. It's been found out. And as a widow, she absolutely could not do this in this culture. She was to remain chaste, so to speak, until she remarried, if she ever did remarry. So Judah's reply to this is, bring her out and let her be burned, Judah demanded. Well, that went from 0 to 1,000 real quick, didn't it? But in this time, a lot of sin was dealt with in this fashion. And this was a real cultural no-no for a woman to be involved in something like this. It was a big deal to this culture. And so death was one of the things that they would do. And understand, Judah here he's stepping outside and has been stepping outside of biblical principles and godly principles and holiness this entire chapter. There has not been a mention of God in this entire chapter. It has just been sin after sin after sin. We're going to make another one. Look at verse 25. It says, but as they were taking her out to kill her, she sent this message to her father-in-law. The man who owns these things made me pregnant. Look closely. Whose seal and cord and walking stick are these? And Judah recognized him immediately and said, she is more righteous than I am, because I didn't arrange for her to marry my son Shelah. And Judah never slept with Tamar again. So Judah here finds it really easy to pass judgment on somebody for this sin, who sinned as he just sinned. He was ready to throw rocks, and he definitely was living in a glass house. He wanted to hold her to a standard that he was unwilling to hold himself to. Common. You know, we look at the world like this so much. And I say this sometimes when I'm preaching or teaching. The worst sin in the world is the sin someone else is committing. We will make allowances for ourselves. We'll justify ourselves. We'll deal with ourselves. But then we simply won't give the same grace to someone else. We'll hold them to a higher standard. We'll judge them more harshly when we ourselves refuse to be willing to deal with the sins and the consequences of our own things. That's what he's doing. Now, I do appreciate how he reacted here. He could have continued along and went ahead and had her killed. I do appreciate the fact that he saw what was happening here and he did back up. You see in verse 26, Judah recognized me and said, she is more righteous than I am, because I didn't arrange for her to marry my son Shelah. And Judah never slept with Tamar again. So he backed off and did not follow through with this. Good on him for that. That was good. This mirrors a little bit David and Bathsheba. That when David was finally confronted with his sin, he did back up and take stock of this. I appreciate that. But it's one of those moments where we're confronted with our own sin. He was confronted with his own sin. How do we deal with that? You know, we need to measure our standards not against what we think is right and wrong, but against what the Word of God says is right and wrong, and hold ourselves to the same standard of holiness that we want to hold other people to. As Christ said, first, take the log out of your own eye, then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's. See you soon.